Okay, so this is Precious, and it's July 28th. And Precious came to us midpoint. And she is also anywhere from 15 to 16 years of age. She was always at risk for being human trafficked. She is free, though, currently, and she is free from being at risk. So she is no longer, we're no longer fearful that she's going to become a victim of being trafficked. She has no children, and she started in May. And let's see, we're on Precious. Okay.
And she has no sustainability and has received no medical aid. Correct?
Yeah, that is correct. Let me just look at her here. Okay. Let me see her stuff. Yeah, her mother abandoned her with her father, who later abandoned her to herself. If I remember correctly, though, I don't know where she is. She has no financial means. She wants to go to school. She wants to go to university. Her education is through elementary school. I can't remember. I know that she's safe in regards to her shelter. I can't remember if it's if it is her father or an uncle or a friend. I can't remember, but I know that it's secure. It's a secure location. All right. So yeah, if we look at her physical health, overall, she's gone up 1 point or half a point. And psychologically, it actually went down anywhere from 4 to 4.5 points. And that is probably because of her stress. She went down in a lot of different respects. Okay. So let's do the overview. Yeah, she came in at 105 at midpoint and actually went down 12 points. Let me look at her reality, but you see her reality was testing was pretty high in relation to her other things, and now it's all balanced. So she might have came in thinking things were better than they were. You know what I mean? That could be why she has a higher score, or and it's not even that she thought things were better than they were. It might be that she refused to believe that things were as bad as they were, or she insisted things were better than they were. It just, her sense of clarity probably, or objectivity probably wasn't totally there. Let's see. In scoring, health is just greater honesty in answering the questions. It could be. It can be intimidating during the pre to answer questions to where you think you should be as to actually where you are. That's correct. And these questions were actually hard for the cohort in some of the questions, right? And understanding what they meant.
Right.
So I'm actually going to look at the questions and answers on reality testing, right? For Precious. And let's see what that shows, if anything. Okay. All right. Precious. Let's see. Okay, so that's that. I'm going to close that out. Okay. This is even more evident in the post-pubertal young adult population. Can we also ask her thoughts on this? Does she feel like this is something she may have done? It would be understandable. Okay.
Like basically her reflection on how honest she felt she was.
Yeah. I mean, we do ask that question. That's question number 133.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean, I've only had one, maybe two. I'd have to look at the other one where I knew that the overall EQi, her results the first time out at pre, I knew that they weren't right. I knew that they were exaggerated. I could just tell by the way she was talking and all of these things. And then at midpoint, they kind of came down. There was more of an honest, they were more honest answers. And it wasn't that she did it in a dishonest way. It was that she couldn't come to terms with the reality of her situation. You know,
right, which is human nature, I think. So
I mean,
I wouldn't be surprised or like wouldn't falter at all if that's the case.
yeah. So we'll ask and we'll see what Seraphin says about there. Are there any? Oh, because of her lower scores, I kind of think that at post that these were her actual scores.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I just feel
which is okay.
Yeah, I feel like she was comfortable enough to actually answer correctly, and maybe also she actually understood the questions better, because remember she's only 15 at the time, and she was at risk for being trafficked. She wasn't trafficked, although she did lose her parents, so to speak.
Right.
As in she was abandoned or neglected, stuff like that. So it's almost like she was guarded, and these answers could have been answered while she was still guarded, and then as she became comfortable with the group, well, actually, you know what, these were at midpoint, so that doesn't apply. This was in October, so she had already been with the group for 6 months.
Okay.
Well, let's see, what did I say? She started May, June, July, August, September, October.
Yeah, so 6 months.
Well, yeah, 6 months. Let me see her. She was there at every class.
Okay.
She was there at every class. So maybe her answers were I don't know. Maybe they were pretty reflective of what she was thinking, and maybe we just didn't do as good a job with her. Or the other thing is, like if you look at her self-expression composite 104, which is her independence, if you tack on 15 to that, her assertiveness is a little high. But if you look at her post, she's actually in balance.
Yes, exactly. So that's what it was just confusing because she came in balance with almost all of the composites, but almost all, if not all, all of the composites came down overall.
Well, her decision-making composite was out of whack. Her self-expression was out of whack. Actually, her self-expression, let's see, is out of whack.
Yeah, I think all of them are.
At her midpoint, she was out of whack. And then at post, self-perception is still out of whack a little bit, but her self-expression is in balance, and her interpersonal just slightly out. Decision making is in balance, and her stress management is still out.
Yep.
Interesting. Let's see. Her problem-solving score is not shocking. Neither is her self-regard, considering her inability to go back into school. Yeah, that occur in her age group. Self-regard went down 14 points. You got to ask yourself what happened. And yet, when I saw her photograph, Precious, she looked beautiful. Like, it was a huge, like, so different from the time she first started to the final class. So I was like, oh my gosh, look at her. She looks so good. Right. And yet her self-regard has gone down. But it could be that she respects herself, but she's lacking in self-confidence, which also would reflect in her independence. they're in balance.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Basically, her happiness level, optimism, really basically around the same. Self-regard went down 14 points. And so did her independence. So I don't know what the reason is for that. Let's see. Her overview is concerning with the drastic drops, not consistent with the rest of the cohort. What specifically is not? We really need to do the thorough evaluation other things that may be happening and offer our support and shoulders to lean on. Oh, you're talking about the total EI. She's the only one who dropped.
Yeah, the fact we've had everybody in our cohort have like 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever drops, but nothing this significant.
Mm-hmm.
She only had 3 subscales out of all these subscales that increased.
Yeah, her assertiveness dropped 30.
Sorry.
30 dropped 35 points.
Mm-hmm.
Let's look at her and her psychological health decreased. Let me look at her overall composites. 79. So yeah. 9. They're out of whack. Everything's out of, not everything, right, but it's out of whack.
Almost everything.
Let's see. So her self-regard, independence, I don't know what's going on. The only thing I could think of is that maybe these weren't true answers at midpoint, even though she's 6 months in.
Yeah, I think I don't really have an answer for it, but I don't want to just say that they're not her answers just because that doesn't fit the pattern that we're looking for. But I think there just needs to be more of a conversation about this because it just is way out of whack compared to everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the one I was the most concerned about.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just looking at it, and I mean, I don't care that her optimism brings her out of whack in her stress management because like I said, if you have to have something spiked,
right,
self-regard, optimism, happiness, that's you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I do feel as though optimism will carry you through, but only to a certain extent. Her happiness went down 2 points. Self-regard went down. I don't know. That's definitely, we need to talk to Seraphin about that. I mean, look at her self-expression composite. It was a pretty healthy, right. It was out of balance, and she was probably way too assertive. But as a 15-year-old, she might have been, talking out of turn or being very loud or whatever. It could also be that she just brought herself more into focus on right. how she speaks, and she now thinks before she speaks. And right. to a point where she's actually just basically, put on a brake pedal to expressing herself. And there's a bit of a lag time before she says something. Maybe she's internalizing.
Right.
And maybe what this shows is just that growth is there's reflection going on and internal growth. I mean, her decision making, right? That's all in balance. Her impulse control is at a good point. Her reality testing is at a healthy score, and her problem solving is at a healthy score. Her reality testing was out of whack. So was her problem solving at midpoint, and she actually brought all of those 3 into balance by increasing her ability to act, her impulse to act. seeing, she might have saw things, you know, either too negatively or too positively, you know. Um, and then with her flexibility, it didn't go anywhere, and neither did her stress tolerance. And you know what? Maybe that's a success,
Right.
you know. Um, and her interpersonal composite isn't that much higher. You know what I mean? They all went down, but they went down in balance. Like, you know what I mean?
Exactly. Right.
And maybe she has, what's happening is that she has a greater understanding of what, you know, this composite really means. Maybe she thought she was having mutually satisfying relationships, right?
Right.
And after a while, she realized, you know what? That's not really a good relationship,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, I don't know. Hers is just tough, I feel like, to actually find answers to right now.
Yeah,
Just looking at the numbers, you know?
yeah, yeah. Hmm. Yeah. So we really, let me see what else you got. You had more stuff here. So,
Yeah, that one bullet, the last bullet about the medical field
mhm.
and stuff, that might have been for somebody else. I don't know how that came up in conversation here. So,
Well,
but back for the mentorship for professors from University of Bemenda or something like that would be good to look into.
mhm. Oh, you know why? Maybe because remember she doesn't have. I believe this is the young girl I was talking about with not having a role model.
Probably.
So I don't know who it was. I know it wasn't Faith. It was either Florence or Precious who did not have a strong role model.
I think it's Florence.
You think it was Florence? Okay.
Yeah, but I don't know. I put this under this because I think this was in this video. So
Yeah, that's fine. And you know what? We might have touched upon the fact that I don't know. You know what? All the young girls need. Everyone needs a role model, but
exactly.
these young girls, Precious, Faith, and Florence, really need some good, strong role models, female role models. So,
Exactly.
you know, mentors. You know, I think the guest speakers is a great idea because of that. Professors from the university are all good because they can come from a lot of different fields. Um, yeah. What can we do to help eventually get her into the medical field? Did we say she wanted to be in the medical field?
That's what I'm saying. I might be confusing her with somebody else. I just thought I heard that during the video.
You might have. I haven't reviewed them in a while. I was going to review them at the same time that I review these.
Okay. Well, that's fine. Either way, that still applies to
Yeah.
all the younger women we have. So
I do think that Seraphin may be able to shed some light on this.
okay.
And I know Seraphin, you know, even Jacqueline might be a good role model. She's older, she's pretty emotionally and socially stable. She's been consistently stable throughout the whole cohort with all three tests. She's feeling better. So I don't know, we'll see. We'll see what Seraphin thinks
Okay.
on this. All I know is that Precious looked like a transformation physically. She just looks so happy, you know. All right.
Yeah, it just makes me wonder with these numbers. They don't really add up to what it sounded like. What Seraphin kind of even said she seemed like in person. So.
And you know there are always outliers. You know, there is always outliers, but we'll have to talk to her about that. Okay, so I'm gonna end this video.